welcome to this dialogue on overseas investment in the renewable energy sector, how to attract Chinese investment in Bangladesh. Uh, so this is a working day, but I am impressed by the presence of the audience. It only shows that you have a lot of interest on the subject. So we here. The keynote presentation will be made by Dr. Khundakar Ghulam Muazzem, who is the research director of CPD. We the developed countries have a target for net zero emissions by the middle of the century. But Bangladesh, as a least developed country, is not, it's not mandatory for Bangladesh, but it has made voluntary commitments, nationally determined commitments, NDCs. Uh, Under this, Bangladesh has various commitments for reducing carbon emission from various sectors. So this is very important for us. And as you know, that Bangladesh also has set its target for renewable energy to reach by 40% in 2020 in 2020 2041 or 2040. So the issue is that why Chinese investment? Because China has been or was considered to be one of the uh, highest emitters of carbon in the world level. And there, as you know, that in the geopolitical economy, Chinese contribution for carbon emission has been quite debated. However, China has now in a leading position in terms of installing renewable energy. So this is, in fact, quite a remarkable journey, and it has been. The achievement is quite stunning because of its installed renewable energy capacity. And just recently, according to the International Energy Agency, IEA, China is now expected to account for almost 60% of all renewable energy capacity installed worldwide between now and 2030. So as we know, despite the commitments at the various global platforms, for example, COP meetings, Conference of Parties of UNFCCC, many countries are falling behind. But on the other hand, China is making huge investment in its own country. So how it was possible? In fact, it has set its goal for doubling and also generating uh, almost 1,200 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030, and it is on track to reach by 2025. So, how it was possible? Many of you know probably that China has always been on a very fast development trajectory. Its growth was quite impressive, but again, on the other hand, there was a time also that reduction of or slowing down of its growth, and particularly during COVID, we have seen while the whole world was facing a lot of challenges, China was also facing challenges in terms of lower growth. But then they had made a lot of investment during that time, an investment on green energy, green development path they were pursuing, and it has strategically invested across all areas of renewable technology. And these included solar and wind capacity, promoting green hydrogen and geothermal projects, and also investing in research and battery storage, along with its development of related supply chains of all these areas. So that is how it is now leading, and many countries like Bangladesh can take advantage of the investment because it also has extra capacity, some of which can be welcome, some of which can be utilized in Bangladesh and many other countries. And coming to Bangladesh, as I've mentioned, that it has a target of covering 40% of its power generation with clean energy, not necessarily renewable energy, but clean energy, whereas out of this, 10% would be renewables. And so this requires Bangladesh's target also requires huge investment if we really want to fulfill that. And there is political commitment from the government. And right now, we have an interim government, as you know, that Professor Yunus, who is the chief advisor, he is a big promoter of clean energy, renewable energy, because many of you have seen or read his book, which is called this A World of Three Zeros. And what are these three zeros? Zero poverty, zero unemployment, and zero net carbon emission. So at the highest level of policy making now, carbon emission or reducing carbon emission is Bangladesh's target. But in order to achieve that, you need a lot of investment, domestic investment, but more importantly, foreign investment. And as you know that not only energy, but for other sectors also, Bangladesh needs foreign investment. So the issue is that we have a lot of policies which are favorable for attracting foreign investment, but the outcome or the results are not so impressive. Why are this why this is so? Because in terms of FDI policy, it is very impressive. So it is, as you know, it is not only a matter of policy, but also what is on the ground. To attract foreign investment, you need smooth infrastructure so that you can save your time. You need less complicated bureaucratic system. You need less corruption, adoption of technology, skilled human resources, and all these. So in a nutshell, you need to create an enabling environment for attracting foreign investment, be it at energy or any other sectors. So that is what it is, where that is why the issue of policy making, taking appropriate policy measures, fiscal measures are important. The issue of taxation, duty, and many other fiscal policies are needed. if we really want to pursue that. So this is not only about Chinese investment, but also in general the issue of investment from other countries. So that is why I hope we had invited the advisor of energy and power, but he had an urgent commitment, so he regretted. But we have various representations from the government, so they will offer their remarks and also shed lights on Bangladesh government's policies in this area. So I think the presentation, what you have in front of you, has detailed analysis how we can attract in Chinese investment, what are the fiscal and financial ways, why we're lagging behind. So all these are here in detail. So I would now request Dr. Khundukar Ghulam Muazzem to make his presentation. And it is an exhaustive presentation, but if Muazzem can finish it within 20 minutes, that would be great, because as we have a large number of people in the room, we would like to give floor to many of you so that you can share your insights. Thank you. Over to you, Muazzem.
Thank you, Executive Director, for giving me the opportunity to present today's presentation. It's on overseas investment in the renewable energy sector, how to attract Chinese investments under the new regime. So that's the overall focus of today's presentation. This study has been conducted along with me, Mr. Mashfiq Hassan Ridoy, former research associate, and Mr. Tamim Ahmed, senior research associate. CBD, both are here and set behind. We will discuss some of the key issues. For example, we like to discuss about the interim government's political stance, as well as some of the recent decisions, which has created some mixed signals regarding this government's objective on promoting renewable energy, that we also like to discuss. And thereby, we like to focus on the financing instruments, fiscal instruments, whatever available in the country. We understand that those are not adequate, but definitely we like to discuss that and follow through. We like to discuss about the challenges and the risks confronted by overseas investors, particularly by the Chinese investors, because China is the major investor on the renewable energy sector, though it is a limited scale, but they are the major investor at this moment in the renewable energy sector. So we talked to them, and we found out what are the challenges and the risks they confronted on investments. And thereby, we have gone through the potential other financing sources. Often Chinese investors prefer their Belt and Road Initiative and the financing available in the Chinese region and China, but we like to propose that there are alternate financing arrangements across where China and Bangladesh can jointly take the opportunity to get finance and to make investments in Bangladesh. As just our executive director mentioned, that the interim government has taken over on 8th August. And this government is led by Professor Muhammad Yunus, who is renowned by his vision of world of 3 zeros. You can see in the slide that this is the book he wrote on world of three zeros, and one of the zero is net zero carbon emission. So we like to highlight that part. If a leadership is such that it's focused on net zero emission, definitely that gives us an impetus for promoting renewable energy in the country. So that's our major target. And he is also the founding chair of the Gramin Shakti. It's a company which is in English called Rural Energy. And its major focus is on improving access to energy for the rural people, and ensuring and providing sustainable renewable energy solutions by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and building healthy community. So that is the main focus of this of the leadership of the interim government. And he has a global initiative for decarbonization. So that is also a part of it. So we are looking forward to working with the interim government, and I'm sure that investors are also looking forward to working with the government. At the same time, the advisor who is in charge of Power and Energy Ministry, he is also is also have prior experience of working on the power energy sector. Particularly, he was the founding executive director of EatCall. And under his leadership, he designed and implemented the solar home system in the country, under which 4 million solar home system have been installed in the rural areas. So you can easily imagine that he is also a proponent of the renewable energy and the solar energy in the country. From the bilateral collaboration and the partnership point of view, I think some recent development happened while the chief advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus has urged the Chinese ambassador Yao Wang and request him to relocate some of the solar panel factories in Bangladesh. I think that could be a good forward-looking initiative to open up some manufacturing facility on the renewable energy sector, particularly solar panel sector in the country, which will definitely reduce the cost of production of the solar panel vis-a-vis those of importing it. So that will be an opportunity. And the same urge he mentioned while he visited the UNGA conference in New York, while he met with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and requested him, and Chinese Foreign Minister also mentioned that China wants to invest in solar panel in Bangladesh. So I think these are some of the political indication that we found in the recent past, which give us hope that the Chinese investments in the renewable energy not only focus on generation, but also in the supply chain in other parts, like manufacturing of the solar panel in the country. But it's true that in terms of investments, Bangladesh needs huge investments. One study by IEFA, one of the colleagues is beside me, they have studied and found that Bangladesh yearly required $1.5 to $1.7 billion of renewable energy investments if it like to reach the target of 40% by 2041. So you can easily imagine the huge investments is required. And I'm sure you also admit that without overseas investment, it will be very, very difficult. So we need foreign direct investments, overseas investments, in order to cater to the renewable energy target by 2041. But at the same time, we are not fully prepared. The supply chain, the whole network is not fully ready in terms of the financial point of view. Markets is not still maturing, and the fiscal part is still very traditional, so which are very difficult to pursue and to accommodate various types of risks and challenges confronted by the investors in the country. So in that case, what we could do, we could take lessons from others, and China could be a good case in front of us, because China is becoming the global leader within 30 years. By 1980 to 2010, they become the front runner of renewable energy investments. So I think from that point of view, we could take lessons from Chinese experience of how they actually promoted renewable energy in the country. I think you have already noticed that interim government has taken some of the decisions regarding the power and energy sector, and some which include suspension of the Quick Enhancement on Electricity and Energy Supply Act. This is one. And under that, all negotiations, selections, and purchasing processes of power projects have been halted. It has issued a gadget to abolish Section 34.A of BERC Act, and thereby providing BERC the authority to to engage and setting the prices, electricity prices. And it also take a decision regarding the BERC to assume responsibility to settling the jet fuel price. I think gradually Bangladesh Energy Regulatory Commission could becoming the main authority in terms of setting the prices, negotiating the deals with different parties in the coming future that we could actually expect. At the same time, the interim government had set a committee to review the contracts of 100 power plants, including 2 FSRUs and 6 long-term LNG power plant deals. And that the process is currently undergone. And it has committed that data and documents to be made accessible to the public domain. I think this is very, very important in terms of the transparency point of view. We earlier regime, we couldn't get that under what deal and what terms and conditions the contracts have been signed, and those are very much highly non-transparent, and it is very much biased to the different parties with political inclination, with the government side linkages, and that has made a very unsolicited deal in a very uncompetitive way. So opening up the documents and data at the public domain is very, very important in this part. And finally, and most importantly for the today's forum is that a decision to cancel 42 power plant projects, which include 37 renewable energy power plant projects. Let me actually discuss about it. I think you are all aware and rather face a challenge of the government's decision of cancelling 42 power plant projects, of which 30 projects to be set up under joint venture or under build, operate, and own initiatives by 15 different countries, including Chinese investors. And that has given a mixed signal to the investors. But at the same time, it is also, you may admit that those contracts have been signed under the Speedy Enhancement and Power Energy Supply Act, which are mostly unsolicited, and contract terms are unclear, and relatively prices are higher, and there were a provision of some of the cases of capacity payments. So there is a justification from the government that government needs to reduce the fiscal burden, financial burden, in order to go for a competitive bidding process. That's the government's overall intention. But at the same time, it is also true that some of these companies have already gone to the extent of getting the LOI. So getting a LOI means that a good number of processes have already been completed, including the purchasing of the land and other issues. And you understand, and we all admit that land purchasing and land procurement in the country is very, very difficult. And they have actually completed those hurdles and finally got the LOI. And after that, if it's cancelled, it happen, definitely that's a major challenge for them. Then what to do? And that also gave us some signal that what the government actually intend to do regarding its through this cancellation thing. So what is our observation is that we found that there are 4 China finance projects worth of 450 megawatt of electricity. All are signed under IPP. And there are joint venture projects and 100% ownership stakes available there. And definitely those projects have different kinds of fiscal implications. I already met with some of the participants, that not only Chinese participants here, but also participants from other contracts whose contracts have been cancelled. They are also participating here. So I think we need to find out a win-win solution under the Public Procurement Act. What could be done? I think keeping the existing contract, whether the government could consider a price renegotiation under the Public Procurement Act, so that it may go to a competitive bidding process. At the same time, the contractual parties also get the assurance that their projects are not cancelled. Rather, that will be gradually be implemented. So this could be one. Another, পিছনে কথা বলেন না, don't talk. And at the same time, we also think for the Chinese investors' point of view, I think in the public procurement process, in the competitive bidding process, I'm sure that China would be one of the least price offered contractual party, definitely because of their competitive age in technology and availability of the materials. Those are there. So they could definitely be more competitive. So what we have suggested here is that the government may consider a reverse auction method for these companies. And for under the reverse auction method, these companies could their contract won't be cancelled. Rather, those could be gradually be implemented in a re-auction method, in a reverse auction method in the coming days. So those kinds of methods we need to thought of. I'm sure that what we have heard so far, the government is currently preparing those kinds of documents, because under the Public Procurement Act, the contractual nature will be different from those of other public contract in other sectors. So I think those documentation will be needed. So one option could be go for a reverse auction method, considering these projects which are currently being considered for cancel. Regarding the investment and financing in the renewable energy sector, if you see that at this moment, we have a capacity of 1,300 megawatt of renewable energy, of which 39% are solar-based energy, solar grid-based energy, and the rest, and there are other wind-based energy, which is only 4%. But off-grid is around 42%. So 58% and 42% is the current ratio of on-grid and the off-grid ratio of power generation. And these projects have made an investment of $9.5 billion of investments for the grid-based projects. Basically, those have been done on mostly under the loan. So in case of Bangladesh, it is highly concentrated on loan. There are very limited use of alternate or other kinds of financing instruments like bridge loan or equity and green. Very marginal level of instruments available of other financing scopes. And there are in other countries like China, we will discuss it later, that they have multiple type of financing arrangements available in those countries. For the renewable energy, we need to consider, because of its speciality in terms of enforcement, long gestation period, the variability of energy supply, it needs a very innovative and diverse type of financing arrangements to be available. So we need to take that into account. And on the overseas investment point of view, we have noticed that there is $1 billion worth of renewable energy investments in the country, of which 50% are made by the Chinese investment, around $590 million. That's been enterprises, and very small amount of private investors are made investments there. But if we actually discuss about the financial instruments in the country, we didn't find much of the financial instruments available in the country. Bangladesh Bank has refinancing schemes like a green transformation fund, which is available there. Initially launched at $200 million. Now it is worth of $420 million, and it provide finance for green and sustainable projects, particularly for the manufacturing and export-oriented sector, mainly for importing green and energy-efficient machinery. So it can be used for importing various kinds of energy-efficient machineries in the country. So that is one option that is available. Then there is another instrument called Technology Development Fund, and it is about 1,000 crore taka, around $118 million worth of value of the fund. And that is also provided for building competitive capacity and sustainability through refinancing schemes. And it has provided interest rate to 5 to 6% with a term of 3 to 10 years. On the other hand, for the Green Transformation Fund, it has a favorable loan rate, which is called Euribor, like Euro Interbank official rate plus 1% of their interest rate. So that is also relatively flexible in terms of the terms and conditions. But the period is rather limited. 3 to 7 years, 10 years, or 5 to 7 years, or 10 years is not adequate for a project like a renewable energy sector sector. So we need to reconsider about much more flexibility in those financing arrangements. There are other arrangements like green loan, which provide 2%, which has condition to the local commercial banks to dedicate 2% of their all loans to green projects. So that has been happening for that there is a provision for monitoring and reporting of use of those funds, and they also need to have a regular assessment of the environmental impact of those projects. There is also available of green bonds. And you know some of the projects recently been launched under the green bonds and issued by corporations, institutions, government, as well as other companies. And these green bonds require certification and verification and need to report regularly by the issuers, and also need to maintain climate bonds initiative like global standards. Unfortunately, most cases, though the fund has been raised by some of the companies, but most of the criteria are not yet fully maintained by under those green bond initiative. From the development partners' point of view, we know that there are IDA loan available, available. European Investments Bank loan is available. IFC loan is available. There is German Development Cooperation, and their funding is also available. I think those are the recent phenomena and the recent trend for investment on the renewable energy sector. Regarding the fiscal instruments which are currently being used in the country, for example, the tax holiday. We have a tax holiday facility. Companies which are setting up by 2024 will enjoy a tax exemption for 12 years. So, that tax holiday is provided only for the income derived from power generation activities. But at the same time, it is also true that our chief guest is arrived here. Thank you. Abdurrahman Bhai, please come. But in terms of the tax holiday facility, it is rather decelerating in nature. Tax exemption is provided 100% for first 5 years, then 50% for next 3 years, and 25% for the following 2 years. So this is a 10-year period, but 100% tax holiday facility is provided only for the first 5 years. So that is an issue. And also for the foreign employees, they get a 3-year income tax exemption upon arrival in Bangladesh. And also investment requirement that 30% of the tax exempted income to be reinvested. So there are multiple conditionalities are aligned and attached to receive the tax holiday facility. So that is another hindrance for attracting the more investments there. In terms of the VAT and duty exemptions, there are the VAT duty exemptions available for solar cells, solar water heater systems, solar collectors, photovoltaic solar panels, but it is not exempted for solar inverters. So I think there are some of the instruments available. I think we have our chief guest here. We will request his kind attention that in the next budget we expect that the renewable energy related equipment parts should be tax exempted in full, because a number of them are currently have high tax rate from 28 to 57% so those need to be exempted and waived. But at the same time, it is also positive that EPZ industries also get exemption for import duty and also for other equipments which usually incur 25 to 26% duty. And it is also true that they need a minimal of 1% customs duty. Investors also receive exemption of capital gain from capital gains. And also the electricity supply is exempt from VAT. That is also a positive drive for reducing the cost. So there are some positive developments happen, but still there are a good number of parts, components, and equipments where high duties and tariffs are there. If we really want to ensure investments across in the whole supply chain, the facility to be available to the all sections or all segments of the supply chain, not to one segment, but to available in other segments, rather discourage the investors and rather raise the costs of their total business. So that need to be ensured. There is a net metering policy, which is also a positive development, happened in 2018, which allowed residential users to set up a 55 kilowatt hour solar system and commercial or 300 kilowatt hour with a varied rate of 4.4 to 6.5 taka per kilowatt hour. But I think there is a new request to extend it further to provide and allow more net facility for the domestic use as well as for the commercial use in order to make it attractive. And the rates also need to be more attractive in order to everybody to go for net metering system. We have a feed-in tariff system, but that is also not very much highly used. Only 3 solar projects are currently receive this feed-in tariff system, but that is only provided only for the new projects, not for the existing one. So that is also need to be considered, and only for the solar-based project, not for the wind projects. So those need to be harmonized in order to attract more investments in the renewable energy sector. While we discussed about the challenges and risks to the confronted by the overseas investors, these are the some of the risks we are observing. First and foremost, they mention about currency risks. We usually didn't actually expect these kinds of risks at all, but this is found to be a major risk for the foreign investors at this moment in the country. And this is because that mismatch between the foreign currency debt equity and the domestic revenue that they receive. And there is a huge fluctuation of the estimated revenue vis-a-vis the realization. So that has made a project unviable. So how to address these currency risks is very important an issue. And local currency volatility is a major concern for the foreign investors' point of view. The same is for the permit risk. Bureaucratic hurdles are there. Land is a major area which is not very easy. Even though permission are mentioned about a fixed time period, but some of the key informants reported us that it sometimes take 2 to 3 years even getting all the permissions. So that also discourages the investors. And there is a lack of transparency, particularly in the earlier regime for the unsolicited project. That is a major objection we observed. And also the market risk and the financing risk, because for the renewable energy project, domestic financing is not so much available. Though আপনারা কথা বলেন না, those domestic finance which are available are not very much attractive. Some Chinese investors mentioned that sometimes it is better to take loan from abroad than from domestic banks. So because they found it relatively cheaper compared to the domestic market. So that is also an important issue, that how to make the domestic finance much more competitive vis-a-vis those of the international financing available. There are hardware risks, like the local content requirements. That is also a problem. And quality and availability of utility scale hardware is also a concern for those who set up the power plants here. The customs procedure is also need to be much more smoother. It sometimes take longer time. HS code related complications are there. So those need to be addressed there. Even there are problems with regard to the environmental impact assessment. It requires huge cost, but at the same time, the EIA is sometimes not been accepted by all parties who are related to that. For example, Ministry of Environment may accept it, but Ministry of Agriculture sometimes have raised concerns about the EIA. Then again, they need to go for a reassessing the EIA, though that also a burdensome for them. So need to make these kinds of processes much more easier for the foreign investors is very important. Corruption is an issue. I think a lack of competitive bidding actually raises some these corruption-related issues, which are very difficult. But we are very happy that this government has decided to go for open bidding system for public procurement, following the public procurement rules. So we are looking forward to the success of this project. But what is also important to make the process transparent and open, because always there is a concern that whether the process is open and transparent. Because despite having following, it is mentioning that it is a public procurement rules. If it is not being make open and public, always there will be some party may raise questions that it is not fully competitive, and there may have some non-transparent issues available. So the whole process need to be made public, open, and maybe websites, the public websites which are for the ministry and the departments could be make available for this. If we actually compare it with different countries, you see that we have made a list of facilities provided by different countries like India, Vietnam, UK, USA, Africa, China. We have given the list. I will not go in detail, but what I like to mention here is that other countries have much more detailed facilities available. We may say that, yeah, we also provide tax incentive. Like India, like Vietnam. Vietnam provided tax exemption reduction. We also provided that. But the point is that it is not business friendly. And businesses are not actually availing that very smoothly. So that we need to understand that what is the problem there. Because there are lots of conditionality. I will come to that point. There are lots of conditionality to availing those incentive facilities. So that also discourages the investors. So same kinds of facilities may be available, rather more and more other incentives are available in other countries. Like India, in the distribution part, they provide renewable purchase obligation. Feed-in tariff is also, we have performance-based incentive for distributed generation. Those are there. In Vietnam, they have grid expansion and modernization support. Uh, in China, they have feed-in tariff, national subsidies for wind, solar, and biomass energy projects. In case of transmission, they have central and the local government funding. But what I like to mention here is that the facilities, those we, even though limited, are not very easy to avail. So that we have to take into account. Let me give some example. You see a comparative picture here between Bangladesh and China. For example, that income tax exemptions, it is time bound for 10 years, but 100% is available for only 5 years. But for India, for China, it is long term and it is stable. In case of the VAT exemptions, it is for selected renewable devices, not across the supply chain. So we have to consider those kinds of policy support. Not to have a just picking up some and discourage others will not encourage the investors to invest here. Then there are additional requirements. If an investor like to avail the tax exemption facility, he has to reinvest 10% of the benefit again for a new project. So that is also another conditionality that also discourage for the investors to invest in the project. So we have to be innovative. We have to be more easy to avail those kinds of facilities. The same is true for the financing tools. We have GTF, TDF facilities, but for China, they have other facilities like public-private partnership, green bonds, NDB loans they have. The interest rate here is varying, but in China, they have low interest and stable long-term financing. The accessibility is complex. Some of the informants mentioned that documentary requirements are huge. And some of the company heads, like ITCO's chief representative is here. Sometimes they also mention, the respondents sometimes mention that the documentary requirements need to be much more easy. So so that is also an important point to take into account. In terms of the tax holiday facility, as I mentioned, reinvestment requirements and the complexity issues are there. VAT, I already mentioned, VAT exemptions are there, but that need to be broad-based. Import duties need to be minimal. There are conditionalities like those facilities are tied to EPZ area, not for outside. So that is also an issue. Feed-in tariff is provided only for the new solar projects, not for wind, not for other existing projects. So that is also an issue. For the green bond, we have available green bond. We have introduced it, but it is still at a very early stage of development. It is limited and underdeveloped. Green bond is introduced to promote decarbonization, to promote low carbon emission. So from that angle, there are some compliance requirements. There are some monitoring instruments to be used. There are some standardization to be followed, and those to be regularly assessed. Does it happen now, those green bond-based renewable energy projects? So those are also important to take into account. So China has built, operate, and own and transfer model, so that we can also thought of here in Bangladesh. There are accelerated depreciation available to reduce the risks for the investors, and investment to be available for reinvestment. So those are not available in Bangladesh. The public-private partnership to be make available. Preferential loans we could actually consider. Carbon trading is widely used in China. For carbon trading, in 2023, they have the companies got the benefit of $1.1 billion. So there is a huge potential for carbon trading, and that has been available there. Then there is renewable energy certificate facility to sell certificates to different companies, those who generate renewable energy from there. As I mentioned to you, that financing for the Bangladesh is rather widespread, and it is available, and we have calculated that at present around 40 billion worth of investment potential for anybody like to invest in the renewable energy sector targeting Bangladesh. So that is also widely open. not to the Chinese investment, but also to other investment facility across. You see the list. There are 44 different banks and facilities who allowed investment in Bangladesh. And this includes ASEAN Infrastructure Fund, Biocarbon Fund, Canada Climate Change Program, to finally World Bank Carbon Funds and World Bank Group Catastrophic Risk Management Fund. So there are across funds are available. And from the Chinese companies, they are prefer to use their Chinese based financing facilities like China Development Bank, AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, Exim Bank, Agricultural Development Bank, Industrial and Commercial Bank, Bank of China, Silk Road Fund, China Construction Bank, New Development Bank, and China Export and Credit Insurance Corporation. So those are they are actually currently using. But I would say that if required, they could actually go for alternate financing available, particularly since the risk is a concern. So risk mitigating various kinds of funding facilities are available across the world. So how could those fund facilities could be availed for the investments here that they could actually consider? These are the financial instruments: co-financing, technical assistance, loan, concessional loans, equity, carbon finance, guarantee, loan guarantee, ODA grant. So those are available. And this is some of the list which is also available in your folder. So I come to my recommendation part. So first is that what we like to recommend. First, I think that government need to think about regarding the cancellation of the power plants, how to address the concerns raised regarding cancellation of the projects. We fully endorse government initiative of Public Procurement Act and go for competitive bidding. So our suggestion is that why not that competitive bidding or the price renegotiation be stored renegotiation can be done for these companies at first, and that could be done. And already government has gone for bidding for 10 grid connected solar power plants of 500 megawatt. Can those projects be taken from these 31 projects? Those are been cancelled. So that could be one win-win deal that could be considered. Another is that a reverse auction method could be considered. Thereby, these companies could get priority for a competitive bidding and can offer their price, and whoever the lowest bidder will get the offer. So that kinds of way, I think there is a possibility to go for competitive bidding. I think some of the companies have received those contracts in 2018. That time, the solar panel price was quite high. Now it has significantly reduced, almost half. And you can easily go for renegotiated price, even making your margin. So I think there is a possibility and scopes for renegotiation with the government, and we request government, as the NBR chairman, honorable chairman is here. So we pass through the message, and as well as the power division representatives is here, Bangladesh representative is here. We request to pass this message to their concerned authorities. The same is true for the currency risk. How to address this currency risk is a concern for Bangladesh. We earlier didn't actually thought of it so seriously, but it is a major concern now. So how to address this currency risk? One could be done is that a partial guarantee is needed. So how to provide those partial guarantees for foreign exchange losses is important. And in this case, local banks can offer credit in Taka and incentivize foreign investors use Taka denominated bonds. In case of there may have a bilateral currency swap with China as well, and that could be done local currency and can reduce the currency risk. So China has an example of RMB dominated investments, so that could be one option. There are also market risk and revenue uncertainty, so that could be addressed by a stabilization fund. And public-private partnership with government-backed financial guarantees could also help. Labor market development needed, and Chinese educational institution could thought of. Bangladesh could go collaboration with Chinese educational institute for upskilling the local labor force. That is important, and establish local training centers is also could be done. I think the local private banks should establish state bank green banks facility, tax incentive and subsidies and green bond facilities, and venture capital to be provided, but the administrative process need to be simplified. At the same time, a transparent committee of bidding is also needed. Today, while I discussed with some of the participants here, they appreciate government's initiative of public procurement act, but at the same time they have a just a thin concern that whether those will be fully transparent. So how to ensure transparent even within the public procurement act, that is also an important part. So that need to be ensured that even under the public procurement act, it should be transparent and fully competitive, so that everybody get confidence on the process. Otherwise, there will be again a same concern of corruption, underhand dealings, and that will discourage the foreign investors who really genuinely wants to invest here in the renewable energy sector. And some of the risk guarantee schemes can be facilitated by World Bank, ADB, and IFC, those who have those kinds of financing arrangements available. And there's a request for a dispute resolution policy. At this moment, domestic dispute resolution is being mentioned that to be done at the domestic level. But given the scenario, the foreign investors are not fully confident enough to the domestic dispute settlement mechanism. So there should have an option to go for international dispute settlement body like ICC and ICSID. So those kinds of bidding process to be keep open, so that from along with the domestic, if anybody wants to go to the international dispute settlement body, may go there. And also for the climate fund, as we said, there are diversified funding source available for, and those could be used for both for Bangladeshi investors as well as for the Chinese investors in case of targeting to the domestic market. And also, China already proposes a loan assistance of $5 billion and to mitigate Chinese currency in Chinese currency to mitigate foreign reserve pressure. So those could be considered to be used for any kinds of currency related risks or the reserve related concern that has been raised in the country. So this is my long presentation, and I would like to thank you all for your patient hearing.
Thank you, Mozim, for this very exhaustive presentation. You have seen that the issue is really vast. While talking about Chinese investment in the renewable energy, some of the critical issues and bottlenecks also have something to say, and particularly taking advantage of the presence of the National Board of Revenue's chairman, because there are a lot of financial and fiscal measures which are needed to flourish this sector. So first, I would request Mr. Shohidur Rahman, Country Manager, Bangladesh, Jinko Solar, which is involved in
Thank you.
okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Okay, Mr. Shohid, I would utilize our limited time. I mean, you have 5 minutes, but I have some questions to you, particularly based on your experience and good practices, how to promote the overseas investment in renewable energy, what we are discussing mainly. And in addition to the recommendations that have been presented here, if you have any other addition to that, because as I've mentioned that policymakers are here also. So you have 5 minutes. Please try to keep to time so that others also have the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. So basically, I'm Shahidur from Jinko Solar. We are the largest module manufacturer, N-type module manufacturer, and technology leader. And we are also ESG leader in the world. So basically, for Chinese investment, I want to simplify something. I want to share some insights. In Bangladesh, as you know, for IPP or rooftop or any other thing, that the approval process is very lengthy. So if we can simplify the approval process, it will be helpful. And also, if government can support for tax credit, tax incentive, it is also helpful. And for the Chinese investment like NDB, AIIB, some FDI are there. So they are also very keen to support Bangladesh investment. Also, in the world now, ESG is very hot topic, environment, social governance. So the Chinese state-owned company is very follow the ESG topic. So if we can adopt this ESG, it will also helpful. For basically for IPP project, I want to add some points. In Bangladesh, as I worked for the last 7 years for IPP and rooftop projects, so there are some issue for the land actually. The land acquisition is the most crucial part. So if government can support for land acquisition and also the transmission line, you know, the ROW is the very key part. If government can support in this part, and then the tender or solicited project will come, then the invest will be lower and it will be easier, and Chinese investment will Chinese people will happy to invest in Bangladesh very easy. So some more suggestion from my side. As you know, besides the IPP, the rooftop market is growing. So in rooftop, the CNI in the CNI segment, the module tax, the inverter tax is very higher. If government can take initiate to reduce the tax, it will be also helpful. And also for the net metering system, the BSTI, the net metering process is quite clumsy and lengthy. If REB, PDB can also look after, it will be also helpful for the growth of our. And in addition, the interim government is taking initiative to cancel the project. So this is a very sad news for our side actually. But I understand that government is thinking there are some corruption may happen or there was no negotiation, but there are some solid projects are there. Some European funded, some Chinese funded projects are there where actually proper there was no such corruption. So government can rethink, can reevaluate, can renegotiate, and support some of the projects to move forward. So actually, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was really to the point and precise. Really appreciate your comments. So now I would like to invite Mr. Shofikul Alam. He is the lead energy analyst for Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis. So, Mr. Shafik, yeah, I would obviously, I want to understand about the finance aspect, and you heard about various modes and modalities. So, what more opportunities, and also at the same time, what are the challenges are there? And if you have any other additional recommendations, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, honorable chief guest, distinguished discussant, keynote speaker, other participants, and media representative. A very good morning to all of you. So, since we are very import dependent and our energy commodities are dollar denominated, so that's the issue has been. We're grappling with for last several years, in fact, many years, and that is the reason for all the power sector challenges now we are facing. Increasing revenue shortfall. So one of the ways that is the renewable energy that can help at least address some of the key challenges of the sector by reducing that revenue shortfall. So that is the good case and good investment case as well. So what is needed now, the risk-free return for the financiers. So the risk-free return will ensure the sufficient investment in Bangladesh. There lies the major challenges. So I will divide it into two parts. One is for the rooftop solar and another is for the utility scale renewable energy project. So for rooftop solar, what happens is these projects are highly feasible, but banks and non-bank financial institutions find it risky because it is implemented on the roof of industries. There are risks because those industries are already, they have already provided, that is already mortgaged to some of the banks. So the risks involved in the financing, so they need some kind of credit risk guarantee scheme that is available in other countries. If we can introduce, that can help expedite that implementation of rooftop solar project. And given the potential and given the economic benefits, so it is surprising why it is not getting picked. So the available financing scheme of the central bank, that is 1,000 crore under the green refinancing scheme, documentation is huge. On the other hand, it is refinanced, not pre-financed, so it takes time. So that affects the implementation. On the other hand, ITCOL has extensive experience, but it also has limitation because it has other projects also. It cannot alone meet the whole demand of the sector. Now, if another important aspect, that is the high import duties, already keynote speaker mentioned, but we need to reduce, we need to rationalize. For example, if we have the 40% clean energy target, then there should not be that kind of high import duty. That actually discourages the investor. Now, if I come to utility scale projects. So, although with the change in the government, there is optimism, but I would say it is a case of cautious optimism because the projects are cancelled. Now, we don't have any investment-ready project. So that is a big challenge. We need to have some investment-ready project to think foreign investment to flow, fund from multilateral development agencies to flow. So what we now need, we need to have, if we want to go for the reverse auction, that is the actual plan of the current government, we need to have ready land for that. We should have land ready, and then we should have the confirmation from the government side for the transmission line from the project side to the grid. So if those are ensured, then there will certainly be investment. Now we have also the foreign currency risk. So what we should consider? We should consider a combination of funding opportunities. One is the multilateral development agencies. Given the high foreign currency risk, I would say MDBs would be one of the best option to cater to this, to address this risk. MDBs fund would be better. Then there is also the case of climate fund, but given that we have only 2 NIE, so they also have their limitation. Considering that limitation, we need a combination of funding. We need to have a mapping of the sources of funding, MDBs funding, then the multilateral climate funds, and then also the other bilateral investment options from China, even Europe and other countries. Now, another challenge we see, actually see from the, given the list of LOIs issued over the last 7-8 years or 10 years, even after the issuance of the LOIs, we see that it takes a lot of time to develop the project. This is not only because of the land issue, but also there is the issue of equity funding. So lack of equity funding often affects them. This is not the only reason, but it also affects. So what can be done? Private equity funds, that could be one of the options. And then Bangladesh Bank earlier had IPFF, Investment Promotion Facility, IPFF. So that was instrumental in some of the infrastructure project. So that was also used to release in dollar. So that could also be revived for renewable energy project. And then there is the case of green bond that has been discussed by the keynote speaker. So that could be an option also, but I would, given the thin market we have, I would say the institutional investment would be key in that case if you want to utilize green bond. What about renewable energy, something like Sanchoy Patra, because we are issuing Sanchoy Patra for every, it has the time period of 3 years, 5 years. We can probably extend if government issues Sanchoy Patra, something like that for renewable energy. That could also be the case. But for green bond, what is the extra benefit for the institutions that want to invest in green bond. So that is also for 20 years. Let's say, what is the exit policy? These are the things we need to consider. And private public partnership that our keynote speaker has also addressed. So that is, we already, I mean, unused fund in every budget that was allocated earlier from since 2010 or 11, 3,000 crore it was at one point. So if we really can develop investment ready project, so why that fund cannot be utilized? So that fund can be utilized as well. I think these are the different opportunities, but we also have, I mean, there are many opportunities. The first and most important thing is to have ready land and then the other infrastructure ready to go for auction, reverse auction. Without land, it would be very difficult to go for reverse auction. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these concrete recommendations and your insight. So, as promised, I would now come to the audience who are sitting there. Each of you have, I'm sure you have interest and also some comments you would like to share with us, or questions also, because the policymakers are here. But I would earnestly request, just focus on the issue, just do not go for elaborate comment. We know the issues, everyone knows the issue, but what is your query, or what is your concrete recommendation? That is what we want to hear. So in 1.5 minutes, so you would be speaking. Yes, please identify yourself and then make your concrete point. Please start. Yes.
Thank you so much to give me the opportunity. And I would like to thank first to the CPD to organize such a wonderful dialogue for renewable energy sector.
We will skip the thanking part. You
Okay.
can give collaboratively at the end.
Actually, I would like to
Thank you.
request you a few more time, because of I am the one of the sector representative. The Bangladesh Sustainable and Renewable Energy Association. I'm the senior vice president, and most of the people are in member here. I need some few minutes more for remarks, if you allow me.
No, you can see that,
Yes.
I have to.
First of all, I would like to say about the solar module manufacturing or assembling issues, which is our honorable chief advisor has been addressed many times, different places, as well as also our advisor of energy and power. This has to be, take the initiative by the power division or the other related, because of there is many issues. Cannot be find the profitable investment for the solar module manufacturing here, because first of all, the technology advancement. China always has been the technologies the growing one after another. If it's just investment is here, is not the viable. We have many Chinese investors came to Bangladesh and we have met, but it's not viable. Should be favorable policies can be make this decision has been done. I think this is need to be thinking. Second, the rooftop solar, which is we have found we are doing from beginning 2007. Slowly we are coming here, and the thing is that the rooftop solar is of course growing, but there is some of the issues. Keynote speaker has been given the very excellent presentation, but also there is funding issue is very important. I think the ITCOL is here and all other institutions should go for the favorable policies. Mostly the ITCOL is asking for the bank guarantee. If it is a tripartite agreement with the utility scale utility companies, I think problem can be solved, and you should not have take the guarantee from the investor. This is good things to be develop the renewable energy, utility. I mean the rooftop solar. Finally, I would like to say about the 34 projects, which is main issue has been discussed today. It is one kind of suicidal, I think, decision. And whatever the decision has been come from the minister as an advisor is very clear in mentioned there. Not to go for the preparation, execution, as well as the purchase committee approval. It has been done the purchase committee procedure. Just only go for the preparation for the PPNI. Actually, many investment has been done here. If we go for this kind of issue to be cancelled, it is negative impact from the this investor. I think these things has to be considered. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I would come maybe at this point 5. So one here, one there on my right and left. I'll go by that. And also, I should have mentioned earlier that language is of your choice, so it doesn't matter. So our colleagues are here, so they can translate to our foreign guests here, but it is your choice. Please
Thank you.
introduce yourself and please be precise and
Sure.
concrete.
I will
Thank
be
you.
precise.
Yeah.
This is Sohail Ahmed. I'm
Yes.
Managing Director for Gramin Shakti. My previous colleague told about the manufacturing facility. That is something I tried 3 years back. We were not competitive at that time because of the duty. Because in other countries, they don't have duty. We have 10% duty, not only the solar module, also on the solar cell. I understand the solar module duty to protect the local industry, but as per my understanding, there are no solar module manufacturing facility right now. I myself built up one, which is not working right now. Second thing, I would like to put a caution in the wind. If you look at a lot of facility were shifted to Vietnam and other ASEAN countries. Today, they're under inspection and subject to as high as 270% countervailing duty, because there is so much and so many investment came there, and there are about 40 to around 47% surge in the export from Vietnam in other countries. Now they are also under the duty regime by USA. So it is a huge opportunity for us to attract those investments, which are probably have to be shifted from Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, even from Cambodia. But then if we have if everyone start to step in the bandwagon, we'll have the same thing in future. So there is opportunity that need to be managed properly with the duty regime. First, with the manufacturing plants. Second, about the solar plant, there are already land issues being talked about, transmissions talked about. We have seen the 10 tenders coming. There are 3 documents would be required for land, but as per our assessment, this would not be enough to guarantee your purchase. So still will be there. And if you look back, the record says the number of the approval given and the number of the implementation, there's a huge gap, and mostly the region is the land. I would add another point to that, not only the land, there probably is a bit long-term issue, but then the readiness of the grid, because there are some investors, they're showing they cannot evacuate the total power produced because of the grid instability. Mojim told about on the rooftop solars, the net metering. It's a very good news. The net metering policy is under revision right now. There was a clause in the net metering where it should be a signing, tripartite agreement signing between the power purchase, power producer, and the utility. Utility didn't show any interest, because that's somewhere when the risks of the investments was talked about, somewhere it covered the risks, because in the policy it mentioned that if the power purchaser did not pay you for a couple of months, then the utility can come back and cut down your connection. Okay. But they were not a party to that. But now probably certain incentive will be taken, will be kept for them, so that they will become interest.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll come to Mr. Ghafoor, please.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. It's always nice to be present at the program of CPD. It always gives a lot of food for thought. We are talking about, in fact, let me introduce myself first. My name is Ghafoor, Director Abdul Munem Economic Zone Limited and former Executive Director, the American Chamber of Commerce in Bangladesh. While we talk about FDI, let me give you a few numbers. If we look at last 3 years, 2021, 22, 23, FDI in Bangladesh was 1 billion, then 2 billion, and last year it was $3 billion. So it's about $2 billion on average, FDI in Bangladesh. But if you look at Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and a few other countries, it's about 20, 30, 40, $60 billion. So I think this is very important to analyze why this is the situation, why our number is so low. As I serve economic zone, what I have seen practically, and I'm also taking the advantage of the presence of new NBR chairman. Congratulations. And I have heard what you're talking about a friendlier bureaucracy, to develop in Bangladesh, which is extremely important. First, what we need is important is a predictable environment. When an investor comes, an FD investor comes, he or she looks at next 20, 30, 40 years. So a stability and predictable environment is critically important. The second thing is what I have mentioned earlier, a friendlier bureaucracy. Unfortunately, in the past, it was difficult for us to tell the truth. Now we can tell that. We can freely express ourselves. And I think our new chairman will take advantage of that and will hear us. The third thing is the delays everywhere. For example, one investor is very, very interested to invest. We talk a lot. They are very happy with us, with the government. The moment they go for investment, they pass 6 months or 1 year, they have to face a real music. So we must end of these. The final thing I would like to tell is that BEZA, Bangladesh Economic Zones Authority, they are committed to do about 100 economic zones. Now I can see about 10 to 15 in operation, less than 10 to 15 in fact. The problem is that we must look at the existing investors. If we can help them, if we can make them happy, then it will be easier for them to work as our ambassador to attract further investment. I'm not going further. This country, Bangladesh, is a wonderful country, full of potential, full of opportunities, but time is right now to utilize this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would come to the left now. Yes, please. I'll try to cover as many as possible. Be rest assured. So
Thank you.
we are here as long as you are there.
Thank you, Hamdipan. Enam, Standard Chartered Bank Managing Director and Head of Corporate and Commercial Institutional Banking. I'd just like to address with the policy presentation that IPPs has off-taker agreement, but solar project doesn't have an off-taker agreement, which is a major impediment for funding financial arrangements. So how to address that? I think that should be the core in terms of while we're going to finance as institutions to take it forward. I think that particular area has not been addressed overall presentation that I have seen so far. And that's probably a major impediment for us to progress further. So that would need to be addressed.
Thank you. I think I will now come back to the panelists, my designated discussants. So then I'll come back to you again, once again. So I have now the pleasure to call upon Ms. Soeda Afzatul Desa. She is the head of sustainability at the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation Limited in Dhaka. So Ms. Soeda Afzatul Desa, yes, you are from one of the largest, financial institutes, international organization, which works on finance and investment, and HSBC's role, like many other banks, just spoke, Standard Chartered Bank also. So you have a very important role in supporting the private sector and industrialization in Bangladesh, and now sustainability is core at the core of all organizations, including your bank also, and that's why I think you have this sustainability department itself, which you are heading. So, what are the new opportunities and scopes for finance in the renewable energy sector, and particularly what opportunities you are looking at right now, because this is a moment of opportunity which everyone is emphasizing, and how that can be deployed. And do you have any other international experience, being HSBC, what the other countries are doing in facilitating this type of financing? Thank you. But time is very short, so you have to be really precise. Thank you.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, target is by 2050, we will go for net zero as well. So Apart from that, I will also like to highlight, as there we have the Chinese investment community as well. The core service I would like to mention is like we have a China desk here in Bangladesh and in also around the world as well. This is to facilitate cross-border support for Chinese investment companies. So you may have met here, we have the China desk leading Farooq Bhai. So this is one of the advantages that we can provide you in advocacy, cultural partnerships, and also providing advisory services. So just to get back on the global positioning of HSBC, and I have some examples. So with the HSBC China, so we have led the world's first financing deal that will pay for sectors including utilities and construction to reduce emission in mainland China. We were the joint coordinator, joint lead manager, and joint book runner on Bank of China, Hong Kong's branch climate transition bond. Bank of China will use the funds to finance projects, support Chinese government's goal of achieving carbon neutrality by 2060. So I have multiple examples as such, but I will dig into the requirements for Bangladesh. So one is corporate power purchase agreements. So I have attended a workshop by BPDP, and it was earlier this year, where they were proposing to make a policy on corporate power purchase agreement. And in that way, in accounting method and multiple ways, in even direct purchase as well, apart from BPTB, the producer and the off-taker, they can directly have a contract and for renewable energy. And this will have a lot of potential and interest for the investors itself. So I will request if we have the renewable energy section for the Bangladesh government here. So I would request if we can facilitate this CPA policy further, and if we can work on it, it will give a lot of potential, especially for the apparel sector. And apart from that, the multinationals who have targets to net zero as well. And on another note, on the energy mix of Bangladesh that we look forward, the plan that is, there are, I would mention like energy efficiency conservation master plan, National Solar Energy Roadmap, a Mujib Climate Prosperity Plan. So there has been initiatives, NDCs. There can be a review on the energy mix and what we want to achieve in long term and short term. And of course, I will add, as the NBR chairman is here, so incentives will be, of course, very much helpful. We would seek your support in scope of incentives, as mentioned by our keynote speaker. Thank you, ending it here. Thanks.
Thank you very much. To be precise and to the point, Ms. Soeda Afzatul Nisa. Now, I would request Mr. Ariful Haq, who is the Director General of Bangladesh Investment Development Authority, BIDA. So a lot of issues have come up by now, and one of the important ones has been the land, availability and getting the land in time. That's one of the important bottlenecks, and also the approval process, delay, and all these issues. So how do you plan to address this in the new circumstances? Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much, Appa. Thanks, CPD, for inviting us in this gathering. Sorry, my apologies. So I'll be very specific on the issue. Regarding the approval process, I think we can share our experiences with you, how we are doing with that one. As you know that we have introduced the one-stop services in BIDA to extend regulatory services to the employees and the companies in particular. Just to share a few statistics with you, we have incorporated 143 services of 43 agencies in BIDA's OSS portal. Since 2019, we have extended more than 160,000 services in the Want to Service portal, which is 24/7 and which is virtually online, and it is online. So the in-time delivery of the services is more than 98%. So that's how we are moving through. And just to share the new initiative by this government, the interim government, we are developing the new strategies to attract the investors on a front page basis. We have a dedicated desk for the Chinese investors as well as other countries. And we also trying to focus on the subsector level that Majumbe has presented today. This is a very good presentation. We thought we need to look into all the subsectors in these areas. Regarding the land, the renewable energy requires, in particular, the renewable energy requires huge lands. Nearly 3 acres of land requires for generating 1 megawatt of power. So in that context, we as a land scarce country, we have challenges in the agriculture and other areas. But again, then we are looking into the unused lands in the economic zone that we have at this moment, as well as the tea gardens and other options that we have at this moment. So we believe that as this is a very potential sector for Bangladesh, as we are going for green, and our global investors are requiring that the energy source should be green. So we are also working on that area. I will be concluding my speech for a few recommendations that the study that has been done, there could be a study on the transmission and distribution area as well, because that is an area that we feel we need to look into developing a very tangible models. And skill development, as recommended in this presentation, we believe that from all the recommendations are very pertinent, particularly in the time frame. There are some issues in the long term, short terms, and immediate. That is a very pragmatic plan. We are thinking that the government will be
specific and focused insights. I would now again go back to the floor, but at the back, yes, I was coming to the back, and also particularly there are foreign investors here. So, and this is particularly for foreign investment. Of course, we also want local investment, but I would like to now invite the foreign investors, if you want to speak, anyone. At the back, I see one hand. Yes, please. I'll come back to you. Yes.
Thank you. Actually, I'm representing one of the Singapore-based company. Name is the Green Solar Energy, which is actually owned by Infraco Asia and the PIDG, the state-owned multinational companies. So thanks for the opportunity. Some of portion I would like to speak in the Bengalis because of the investor trades.
Feel free. Okay. And just
I would
be
like
specific.
to mention two matters. One is there is a myth that some of the organization, the people are comparing with the tariff with the other countries and the Bangladesh. The myth is like the Indian, the tariff is like the 3 to 4 taka comparing to Bangladesh, the recently issued LOI like 9 cents or something like that. What actually happened in India, in the solar park, the state companies, they are investing one of the particular solar park like $775 million US. And they are developing that land, the cable, 33 kV line to up to transmission line, including the training center, the hostel and everything. This is the investor or the developer just come and plug and play to install their panel and inverter to produce the power. This is the kind of a myth they are the comparison like the tariff comparison. This is that should not be happening in Bangladesh because the sponsor and the developer, whoever the multinational company, the local company, they are taking the responsibility the entire project development like build, own, operate, acquiring land, evacuation and everything. Also the last LOI, they're mentioning that there is a 6% TDS also included. Compared with the others, the 9% LOI, 9 cent included TDS, 6% EDS included. And another thing I'd like to mention in Bengali, because most of the newspapers say the LOI has been cancelled. But so far I know the office order has given temporarily postponed it. Are we expecting they will evaluate these matters? They will evaluate this matter, and we are expecting that would be the case-to-case ways. So also, I have a LOI. I have a LOI. There is a termination clause in LOI. There is a specific clause like once they issued the LOI, once you accepted the LOI, you are in the pre-binding contract. And you have to follow some procedure. One is procedure, you have to submit the bid security. Then you have to, within the 45 days, you have to confirm the draft PPA, the formal executive version implemented agreement, that the PPA you has to be comply with the off-takers. Another is you have to create the SPV. The foreign investor creating the SPV is very difficult in Bangladesh. They have to comply with the regularities, Bangladesh Bank, and so many ways they are taking the time to create the SPV. Another important thing is they have to procure the land also. Because before signing the PPA, you have to submit all the land documents before prior 3 days. The thing is, we are getting the LOI 2024, which we proposed our proposal in 2018. We submit our proposal answered about 2018, and we get the LOI in 2024.
So what is the point? I mean,
the point is,
yes.
So the thing is that they are calling that this is already cancelled, and now it's like that we are in the plane on board, and we are without any control. We are moving on the air, and nobody give us the direction. The fuel is burning. We are in the mayday situation.
Okay, so you want specific directions
Yes.
with visibility. Thank you very much. Here you wanted to, I saw you wanted to, your hand.
Assalamualaikum. I'm Alamgir Morshid. I'm the CEO of ITCOL. I think I would have be more interested to hear from the foreign investors, but in any case, I think access to finance, this has been discussed, which is one of the major challenge for the development of renewable energy sector in Bangladesh. And ITCOL has been in the forefront of providing finance to this kind of renewable energy and clean energy projects. I think the expectation from the borrowers is also that how could we simplify the process of securing finance from organizations like, say, ITCOL. Just to mention that ITCOL had been established with an objective to finance some of these energy projects, probably, in an environment where we don't find too many banks or financial institutions participating. So the whole idea was that organization like ITCOL would develop a market where we'd see more commercial banks participating. ITCOL had been developed almost now incorporate 25, 26 years ago, starting with the first renewable energy project like solar home system. Unfortunately, if you fast forward it by 15, 20 years, we don't see participation of the commercial banks as yet. The solar home system has has phased out. But why that is not happening? You see, ITCOL, we have to remember these are organizations that special purpose vehicles dependent on specialized funds provided by the development partners. And as Bangladesh graduates to an LDC country, some of these funds will phase out as well. So it's very important, the discussion Mohsen Bhai had in his presentation on the financial sector, that requires a huge discussion. How could we provide finance in local currency? Very important, because FX risk will always be there. I think we need to bring in Bangladesh Bank and probably Security Exchange Commission into these discussions, because this is a huge topic. You're talking about liquidity, you're talking about interest rate risk, you're talking about foreign exchange risk. Just to pick one example, swap market or FX hedging. Without the support of Bangladesh Bank, you cannot develop a market. Local currency funding, many of our Chinese customers, they do come to us and they want foreign long-term financing in Taka. Now, we all understand this market doesn't have a long-term local currency market. How do you develop that? How do you build a bond? So there's a big discussion. I think over the years, with my experience in capital markets, we had many such sessions But somehow we have not been able to form a kind of a committee at a national level which could take these various issues of financial market forward. Otherwise, the problems are understood. How do we solve it? So I think that is one. HSBC, she mentioned about the other issue on the solar rooftop. Securing loan is very important. Why these documentations are so much? For ITCOL even, our NPL is still at double-digit numbers. And, so some of these clean projects, auto brick projects that ITCOL had financed, the entire project is bad because of there were various policy issues. These auto brick projects or clean projects, brick projects were done on back of some policy changes that the traditional brick fields will close down. That never happened. And these clean brick projects, that could not fly because those dirty brick fields run at a much cheaper cost than an auto brick project. Solar home system. I think, despite the fact that the entire country got electrification, we all understand, running a house on a solar, technology is cheaper than probably, on the electricity. Why did we have to, just make those obsolete and recoveries were put into problem and this solar home system portfolio went bad? And out of our non-performing loan, 50% is because of those projects. So what could ITCOL do on financing a solar rooftop, especially the OPEX projects? CapEx is more secured because these are owned by the companies which owns those, the factories. But when you come to the OPEX, which is a more sought after model, these OPEX securing those loans is another big issue.
Okay.
So that is where we need, a lot of discussion. And of course, Tax sir is here. A lot of debate on that. I'm sure many of them are willing to express their opinion.
Thank you
so
for
much.
shedding light on this. I mean, as opposed to the traditional commercial banks, NPL, here we see some concrete reasons, that for the type of the business model itself, not just, taking advantage of the loose policy making in the past, what we have seen. Thank you once again. I see, yes, lot of hands are there, but I will go to the back, and also it's a she, so I should also give her some.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak, and I really congratulate CPD for this dialogue. I'm standing here just to reply. এটা বাংলায় বলি কারণ আমি সবাইকে বলতে চাচ্ছি না। একটু আগে যিনি ওই যে সিঙ্গাপুরিয়ান কোম্পানিকে রিপ্রেজেন্ট করছিলেন, উনি একটি বিষয় বলেছেন যে মিডিয়াতে যে রিপোর্ট এসছে আর সরকারের যে নির্দেশ সেটার মধ্যে বৈপরীত্য রয়েছে। আমরা সবসময় আমাদের যিনি অ্যাডভাইজার থাকেন তাকে কোট করি। আপনি আবারও টেলিভিশনের যেগুলো ক্লিপিং রয়েছে এবং উনি যা বলেছেন আমরা হুবহু সেটা লিখেছি। বাতিল শব্দের ইংরেজি প্রতিশব্দটা ক্যান্সেলই হয়। আপনি দয়া করে দেখে নেবেন। ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you for this clarification. Yes, Hassan bhai, I'll come back to you later. Then yes, Rohini, I'm giving some preference, some gender, trying to make some balance. Okay.
Can you hear me? Oh, so just one very concrete recommendation on the recommendations. Maybe have some of the more concrete steps that's mentioned in the content, especially around the duties, variability of the duties, the procedural delays be there as a separate entity. So you have recommendations A to I, but some of the immediate actionable items like having the delays and procedural delays, custom exemptions, trying to have more competitive tariffs reflecting changing market and technological changes. Those can be also included in the concrete recommendations. Maybe have the concrete recommendations also talk about building transmission lines, having the government be able to acquire the land for that. And maybe one additional point is the AIIB's President Jin Luchin recently said that it will be helping developing countries be able to attract renminbi bonds. So include that also in the, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for this concrete recommendation. This side, I'm really, puzzled now. Yes, please. Please be concrete so that I can give opportunity to others.
Thank you very
Yes.
much. I'm Kuram. I'm country manager of CGN EDRA. CGN means China Jilan Nuclear. CGN has globally 56,000 megawatt install capacity, and has solar 7,000 megawatt and wind 12,000 megawatt globally. Today, it was talked about solar projects and wind projects. I want to add another suggestion here. Offshore wind is also a very good opportunity. As per our preliminary analysis, the wind speed is more at the Cox's Bazar in a beach Teknaf area, and the efficiency can be much higher, and which is also in line with the 3-0 aim for this interim government. So I would like to have, so the government can take initiative to float the tender for the offshore wind projects. So it will be a good opportunity and benefit for the country.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, yes, you come here.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum. আমি হাসানাত ডেভিড হাসানাত চেয়ারম্যান মিডল্যান্ড পাওয়ার। আমি বাংলায় বলতে চাই এই কারণে যে আমি I like to share some different things, not the regular suggestion. Of course, CPD has elaborately point out the problem. I'm sure it covers 99% problem. So we already find out the problem. So we need the recommendation. So general recommendation is there. আমি দুটো কথা বলবো। First হলো আমরা বলছি চাইনিজ ইনভেস্টমেন্ট অ্যাট্রাকশন কিভাবে করতে পারি। আমাদের এখানে কিন্তু চাইনিজ ডেস্ক নাই, আমরা কিন্তু চাইনিজ ট্রান্সলেটর নাই। এই যে অনুষ্ঠানে আমাদের কিন্তু চাইনিজ অনেক ইনভেস্টর আছে, আমরা কিন্তু তাদের সঙ্গে কমিউনিকেট করতে পারছি না। হোয়াট আই এম ট্রাইং টু সে যে আমরা কিন্তু ইনভেস্টর মানে কি, সেখানে একটা সোশ্যাল আসপেক্ট, সাইকোলজিক্যাল আসপেক্ট, যারা পার্সন তাদেরটাকে আমাদের কিন্তু অ্যাড্রেস করতে হবে। আমরা কিন্তু তাদেরকে কখনই অ্যাড্রেস করি না, অর্থাৎ তাদের সোশ্যাল আসপেক্ট, তাদের লাইফস্টাইল। তো এই জিনিসটা আমাদের খুবই দরকার। আমি মনে করি যে আমাদের আজকের অনুষ্ঠানেও চাইনিজ ট্রান্সলেটার যে প্রপারলি যেন চাইনিজ ইনভেস্টরদেরকে কমিউনিকেট করা যেত, তাহলে তারা একটু কমফোর্টেবল ফিল করতো। তারা যে তাদের দেশকে বলতো যে আমাদের জন্য বাংলাদেশে ইনভেস্টমেন্ট সেমিনার হচ্ছে। সো দিস আর দ্য ওয়ান থিং। সেকেন্ড থিং, আরেকটা যেটা দরকার, প্রবাবলি আমি জানি না কতটুকু অ্যাপ্রোপ্রিয়েট, এগেন তাদের যে লাইফস্টাইলটা, ইনভেস্টার, চাইনিজ ইনভেস্টার, দ্যাট মিনস দ্য পার্সনস, যে পার্সনগুলো দে আর নট দ্য শেয়ার হোল্ডার, তারা কিন্তু এখানে এক্সিকিউটিভস। তো তাদের লাইফস্টাইলটাকে আমরা কিভাবে কমফোর্ট করতে পারি সেটার দিকে আমাদের দিকে নজর দিতে হবে। অর্থাৎ প্রবাবলি ইউ নো ভেরি ওয়েল যে আপনারা দেখবেন যে বৃহস্পতিবার বিকেলে আফটারনুন ফ্লাইটে অনেক চাইনিজ তারা ব্যাংককে চলে যায়, জাপানিজরা চলে যায়। এটা রিয়েলিটি। শুক্রবার হলে আমরা যেমন আমরা 5 ওয়াক্ত নামাজ পড়ি চাই না পড়ি, আমরা যেমন মসজিদে যেতে চাই, দিস ইজ দেয়ার লাইফস্টাইল। এই জিনিসগুলো আমাদেরকে বুঝতে হবে। আমরা মুসলিম কান্ট্রি ফাইন, বাট মালয়েশিয়াতে কিভাবে তাদেরকে স্যাটিসফাই করা যাচ্ছে, আমার মনে হয় এই দুটো জিনিস খুবই দরকার। তাদের সাইকোলজিক্যাল আসপেক্ট, তার লাইফস্টাইল, এই জিনিসগুলোকে আমরা কিভাবে স্যাটিসফাই করব এটাকে একটু দেখা দরকার আমার মনে হয়। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you very much. This is another angle, definitely, because psychology is very much related to any activities, real life activities, and giving comfort, the cultural issues. I think the policymakers would take note of this. This has been actually emphasized for all investors, that what would they do during the weekends or any other, when they have free time, so that they have a lifestyle what they are used to. Very important points regarding the language. I think Muazzam, there is Chinese translation of facilities here.
আমরা আসলে সেটার কথা মাথায় রেখেছি। চাইনিজ যারা এখানে পার্টিসিপেন্ট যারা এসেছেন তাদের জন্য আসলে অলরেডি ইন্টারপ্রিটেশনের একটা ব্যবস্থা রয়েছে। যারা অনলাইনে জয়েন করেছেন তারা চাইনিজ ভার্সনে শুনতে পাচ্ছেন, আর যারা এখানে এসেছেন তারা চাইলে ওখানে স্ক্যান করে হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ নিয়ে তারা শুনতে পাবে। এটুকু রেখেছি জাস্ট এটা কোনো এমনি বলার জন্য।
Yes, thank you. So that's important, right? So
can I speak?
1 minute please now. So because as I said that our chairman has to go. Yeah, you want to say anything? Just one recommendation, concrete.
One recommendation.
Yeah.
Can you just turn on the mic?
It
So
is on.
basically, it's how to attract Chinese
What is your
investment.
name and where are you from?
My name is SM Abubakar Siddiqui. I'm the managing director of Saudi German Power Plant.
Right.
We are doing climate-based waste to energy project in Bangladesh. So in Brahmanbaria. So basically, how to attract Chinese investment in Bangladesh is the topic right now. But we've been working for the last 4 years. Somebody is working for the last 6 years. And if you see in every table, one of them has an LOI. If you ask one of them in each and every table, they have an LOI and they're ready to shovel, according to Mr. Shafiqul Alam, that we have a ready to shovel project. So these are ready to shovel project. If you need to scrutinize, we need a proper guideline, and we cannot contact the ministry, neither the PDB, because they are actually giving us no information. So our investors are from Germany and EPC is from China. But at the same time, they are also worried because we have taken 4 years time to get an LOI, and now we don't know what to do. And we also don't know if the government changes, what will happen. So predictable environment is required in terms of LOI plus for the next 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are just emphasizing the issue of predictability, stability, and also the timeliness. I would come back. I'll come back to you later because we still have 2 designated discussants, and then we have special guest and guest of honor, and we also have a discussant who is waiting online. But now I would like to request Mr. Amjad Hussain, Joint Secretary, Renewable Energy Power Division. After his speech, Mr. Gan Peng, who will be speaking online, he is there. So I hope my colleagues make sure that the connections are all right, because after Mr. Amjad, I would call upon Mr. Gang. So same issues. You have heard about the problems here, many issues for expediting, smoothing the investment and attract, and also the policies which are already there, how to implement those 2 issues. I mean, this uncertainty has come in a big way. So I would like to hear from you what would be the issue, how the government is planning to overcome those. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Chief Guest, Chairperson, Keynote Speaker for his nice presentation. Actually, a lot of issues are discussed here already. So, first of all, আমি একটু বাংলায় বলবো আমাদের সাংবাদিক বন্ধুদের জন্য। সেটা হচ্ছে একটা বিষয় ম্যাডাম বলেছেন যে বাতিলকে ক্যান্সেল বলা হয়। ইট ইজ রাইট। আমার উপদেষ্টা মহোদয় কোনো একটা বিষয় এটা হয়তো বলেছেন, বাট এটা যেই অর্থে উনি বাতিল বলেছেন সেটাকে আসলে আমি বলবো না সেটা ক্যান্সেল। কারণ কিছু কিছু কথা বলার প্রেক্ষাপট থাকে, সে প্রেক্ষাপটটাকে চিন্তা করতে হবে। আমরা মানে প্লেন ওয়েতে একটা বাংলা শব্দকে ইংরেজিতে ট্রান্সলেট করলেই কিন্তু আমার মনে হয় বিষয়টা হয় না। কারণ আমরা যেটা করেছি, আমি এটুকু পুরো বাংলায় বলবো, আপনাদের জন্য একটু আমি অনুরোধ করব যে আসলে যে সমস্ত 34 এলওআই নিয়ে কথা হয়েছে, 34টা এলওআই সাবমিট হয়েছে, এবং আমরা সেটা যারা ইনভেস্টর আছেন আমাদের সাথে কথা বলছেন, আমরা ওনাদেরকে বলছি যে it is not, they are not, those are not cancelled.
কথা বলেন তাহলে ওনার কথাটা পরিষ্কার শোনা যাবে।
ক্যান্সেলড হয়নি, আমরা বলেছি যে because the special act is suspended. Suspended means সাময়িকভাবে এটা স্থগিত আছে, এবং there is a national committee, they are working with all those treaty policy acts in power division. সুতরাং এগুলো নিয়ে তারা কাজ করছেন যে এই বিষয়গুলোকে, এই আইনগুলোকে, রুলসগুলোকে কিভাবে আইদার মডিফাই, রিভাইজ অর বাতিল কি করতে হবে সেটার উপর কাজ চলছে। এবং এই কাজগুলো হওয়ার পরে তখন আমরা হয়তো বলতে পারবো আসলে আমরা কোথায় যাচ্ছি। টিল দ্যাট টাইম আমরা 34 এলওআই নিয়ে কি কাজ করছি। আপনারা ইতিমধ্যে শুনেছেন যে বিষয়গুলো আমি আসলে বাংলায় বলছি এই কারণে যে এখানে আমাদের ন্যাশনাল কিছু ইস্যু আছে, যে ইস্যুগুলো আসলে আমরা ঠিক সেভাবে আমার মনে হয় না আমরা এগুলো নিয়ে বাইরে যাওয়া উচিত। যেহেতু স্পেশাল একটা সাসপেন্ড আছে, আমরা 34টা এলওআই যেগুলো সাবমিট হয়েছে সেগুলো নিয়ে আমরা কি কাজ করছি। আমরা দেখুন একটা কমিটি করা হয়েছে যেখানে
আমরা বিডিং ডকুমেন্টটা অলরেডি আমাদের রেডি হয়ে গেছে, আপনারা শুনেছেন, এবং আমরা উই আর গোয়িং ফর পারচেজিং অ্যাকর্ডিং টু আওয়ার পিপিআর অ্যান্ড পিপিএ। সো পিপিএ ইজ অলসো অ্যান অ্যাক্ট অফ দ্য কান্ট্রি, অ্যান্ড এই অ্যাক্টের যে বিষয়গুলো সেটা আপনারা সবাই জানেন যে, এবং ট্রান্সপারেন্সির কথা এসেছে এখানে, এবং আমি মনে করি যে পিপিআর ইজ মোস্ট ট্রান্সপারেন্ট প্রকিউরমেন্ট ওয়ে ইন দ্য কান্ট্রি। সো যখন আমরা ওটিএম এ যাব তখন সেটা কিন্তু একেবারেই ট্রান্সপারেন্টই হবে, এই ব্যাপারে কোনো সন্দেহ নাই। আমরা চাচ্ছি যে এই যে যারা অলরেডি ইনভেস্ট করেছে, আপনারা বলেছেন যে 18 সালে আপনি আবেদন করেছেন, কিন্তু এখনো 24 সালে আপনি এলওআই পেয়েছেন, কিন্তু জাস্ট অল্প কয়েকটা ধাপ আছে, যেতে পারছেন না। তা আমরা যেটা করছি যে আমরা চেষ্টা করছি, এখানে একটা কমিটি কাজ করছে, বিডিং ডকুমেন্ট তৈরি করছেন, আমরা চেষ্টা করছি যে এই যারা অলরেডি ইনভেস্ট করেছেন কিভাবে আমরা আপনাদেরকে অ্যাকোমোডেট করতে পারি, সেই অ্যাকোমোডেশনের জায়গাটা আমি আমার উপদেষ্টা যেটা বলেছেন, হি রাইটলি মেনশন, বাট একটু আলাদা করে। যেমন আমি যদি মনে করি যে এলওআইটা আমি বাতিল করেছি, এটা একেবারে কারেক্ট এই অর্থে যে আমি কিন্তু আপনার কাছ থেকে আর এলওআই নেব না, আমি আপনার কাছ থেকে আপনাকে দেব এনওএ, নোটিফিকেশন অফ অ্যাওয়ার্ড, আমি আপনার কাছ থেকে দেব সিকিউরিটি। সো আমি এলওআই নেব না, আমি নেব নোটিফিকেশন, দিব নোটিফিকেশন অফ অ্যাওয়ার্ড, নেব আপনার কাছ থেকে সিকিউরিটি, এবং আমি আপনার সাথে করব কন্ট্যাক্ট। আমি কিন্তু আপনার সাথে আর পাওয়ার পারচেজিং যে এগ্রিমেন্ট করব না, আমি পাওয়ার পারচেজিং কন্ট্যাক্ট করব, বিকজ আমার পিপিএর সাপোর্ট করছে কন্ট্যাক্ট। সুতরাং এই দৃষ্টিকোণ থেকে যদি আপনি মনে করেন যে এটা বাতিল, তাহলে বাতিল, বাট ইনফ্যাক্ট আমরা এটা নিয়ে কাজ করছি। আমি সকল ইনভেস্টর যারা আছেন তাদেরকে আমি এই মেসেজ দিতে চাই যে উই আর ওয়ার্কিং উইথ দোজ থিংস, এবং উই হোপ দ্যাট।
এটা কত সময় লাগতে পারে?
আমরা আশা করছি, অ্যাকচুয়ালি ম্যাডাম একটা বিষয় হচ্ছে, আমাদের যে কমিটি যিনি হেড করছিলেন স্যার অতি সম্প্রতি সিনিয়র সেক্রেটারি হয়েছেন গভর্নমেন্টের, যার ফলে আমাদের এই কমিটিটা আবার একটু রিফর্ম করতে হবে। আমরা আশা করতেছি দু একদিনের মধ্যে হবে, হলেই আমরা মনে হয় এটাতে চলে যাব। সুতরাং এই বিষয়টা আমরা অনেকেই জানি, এর জন্য আমাদের একটু সময় লাগছে, বাট আমরা উই আর রেডি। ফার্স্ট ইনস্টলমেন্টে আমরা খুব সম্ভবত, আমি খুব সম্ভবত বলছি এই জন্য প্লিজ আমাদের সাংবাদিক বন্ধুদের বলবো, এইটা কিন্তু আপনারা কোট করবেন না, এটা করবেন না এই জন্য যে এইটা আমি কমিটির কথাটা আপনাদেরকে আমি বলতে পারবো না কমিটি কি করছেন, বাট আমরা আশা করছি এটা খুব কম সময়ের মধ্যে আমরা প্রকিউরমেন্টে যাব, এবং আমাদের ডকুমেন্ট অলমোস্ট রেডি। প্লিজ, আমি মনে হয় আপনার কথা নেব না, আমি কথা শেষ করি। আমি যে বিষয়টা বলতে চাচ্ছিলাম যে আমরা regarding all those things what we have already done, and we are taking initiative. The act is suspended, and we are going for purchase according to our PPR and PPA, and we are revising our renewable energy policy, and it is in the last stage. So in 2024 policy, we included all renewable energy in one policy. So actually in this forum, all discussion was mostly on solar energy, but I think you can come up with other renewable energy, because we have a lot of opportunity, lot of potential in offshore energy. One of my colleagues, one of my friends said from this side. So come up with a feasibility study project in our offshore wind, because there is a lot of opportunity there. So we have land scarcity, as sir said, we have land scarcity, and we are going for agrovoltaics. So come up with this idea also, because we have a limited land, and according to our land policy, you cannot use 2 crops or 3 crops land. So no crops land or fallow land you can use, but it is very small in size. So come up with other things, waste energy, then onshore wind, you can also come up with this idea. So we welcome for this, especially for offshore wind, you can come up. And our advisor advised us that all utilities should open an unit of renewable energy, and we already passed our letters to them that you need to open a renewable energy unit. And regarding transparent, I said the procurement process will be fully transparent, and after the submission of the report from committee, we will publish all those documents, and no problem. Regarding complaint, one discussion said about complaint management, international complaint management, but Bangladesh Public Procurement Authority have dispute settlement system. So after coming in this procurement process, you can also complain in this system. So I think all those are also transparent. Chairman NBR sir also knows that our honorable advisor sent one due letter to the advisor finance to continue the facility regarding the financial facility to renewable energy sector. Now it is up to 25 June 25, sir. June 25, there are some facilities, and our advisor request him to continue it for long time. So we hope that it will be also implemented. And regarding rooftop solar, the problem is maintenance. A lot of rooftop solar have been installed, but due to the less maintenance, they are not working now. So there should be give some important. I think one of my discussions said about tripartite treaty or MOU regarding our net metering system. I think we will take note. I took the note, and I will inform our authority to think about it. Discussion from, I think you are from head of sustainability. She said about energy mix revision, and for this, one national committee is working. So I think you have a lot of concern about renewable energy, and with all of your concern, we will go for better Bangladesh. But due to some it is turbulity, or it is changing time, changing environment. So give some time to us. I think the situation will be stable, and we will go together to build a better Bangladesh. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amjad Hussain, for some clarity on the cancellation and suspension of this. So as per your information, so LOIs, whatever LOIs have been submitted, they will now, the task of the government is to award those on the basis of competition and procurement here. So yeah, so that is the clarity. So I think you have now some authentic information from the actual sources. And you have emphasized on the diversification of renewable energy sources, very important. At this point, I would like to request Mr. Gan Peng, who has joined online. He is the chairman of Chint Solar Company Limited. So yes, my colleagues would connect him. He's already connected. I think he would be over to you, Mr. Pang. Welcome and thank you for joining. I don't know where are you based now, Shanghai or?
No, I'm now in Hangzhou.
Hangzhou, okay. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you. It is a very good opportunity to join this meeting at a critical period. When I say critical, it is now everybody knows this is a transitional period for Bangladesh. I would like to to say something about Chinese investment because I'm one of the Chinese investors in Bangladesh. So our company name is Chint. Chint is the largest private investor in China on renewable power plant projects. We are the largest private company. So every year we have about 10 gigawatt commissioned. So we have a lot, definitely we have a lot to say on this topic. Overseas investment in the renewable energy sector, how to attract Chinese investment in Bangladesh. Actually, when I received the invitation, I was astonished to see the word cancellation because, but just now, Dr. Mujam just corrected this clarified this word. Because from all different levels of communication in Bangladesh, there is no cancellation of LOIs. As one of the Chinese investors, Chin already secured 2 LOIs. So when I saw the news, our projects were suspended. I feel my life is also suspended. Of course, this is a joke. Why I say this? Because Chin spent more than 3 years in Bangladesh. It's a long journey to secure 2 LOIs and another 2 projects with the tariff negotiated and cabinet procurement meeting pending. All of a sudden, things were just taken upside down. To talk about the subject to attract Chinese investment in Bangladesh, I would say to attract Chinese investment is not difficult, but how to materialize Chinese investment is difficult. This is applicable not only to Chinese investment, but also Singaporean investment, Malaysian investment, European investment. See, now we have about 34 or 35 projects with LOI in there. Now the government decides to have scrutiny on this project. It's okay. Now the government decides to go open tender, which will take a lot of time. I think it is understandable to always have competitive bidding to for the benefit of the people. However, I would say let's come back to the topic: how to attract Chinese investment, how to materialize Chinese investment. We already have projects there. We already have shovel-ready projects in the pipeline, and now the projects will go back to open tender. I would say this is we are very sorry to see this decision. What should the government be more concerned is that how to reinforce foreign investors' confidence about this market, about this sector during this transitional period. If we are always talking about political rights, then this topic is really difficult to materialize. So from our previous experience, see, people will say in India the tariff is maybe 3 US cents or 4 US cents approximately. In China it's 4 cents, 5 cents. In the other, in Thailand, in Malaysia, 4 cents, 5 cents. And why in Bangladesh the tariff is 9 cents, 10 cents? I should say that we have to consider the development stage. In Bangladesh, it is still in the initial development stage in terms of renewable energy. You see in China, when China was in the initial development stage of renewable energy, the tariff in China was also very, very high. This is the same case in Thailand, same case in Malaysia, same case in Vietnam. So we have to consider the development stage instead of only quoting the figure only. We have to consider the development stage. Where are we now in Bangladesh? It is in the initial stage. If we look at the installation so far for a country of 170 million people, it is just in the initial stage. Okay, this is my comment about the open tender and also some people's topic about the high tariff in Bangladesh. And another comment I would like to add here is that to attract Chinese investment, we have to consider about the political and the economic stability. Just now I heard three guests talk about this issue. How should we, as a foreign investor, how can we feel secure that our investment is in the right place, in the right time? So at this critical period, I think the government should prioritize the predictability and stability for the investors. To do this, personally, I would say for the projects which already are shovel ready. When I say shovel ready, it means the land, at least the land is secure, the LOI is secure. These projects should be given green signal to sign the PPA. And I say for change, we already submitted our PPA and IA review for our two projects in July to the government. Until now, no feedback yet. And we just got the news that our projects were suspended for scrutiny. So if we talk about how to attract Chinese investment, then at least for the projects which already have LOI with millions of dollars invested in this country, we should be fairly treated. We should be fairly treated. Let me repeat. We have spent almost 4 years and millions of dollars in this country. And now what we request is fair treatment. And also another topic is about the settlement of the outstanding electricity bills for the existing projects. As we understand, there is a lot of outstanding bills to be paid to the investors. And also the investor have difficulty in the dividend backflow due to the US dollar crisis. So if we talk about how to attract Chinese investment, this should be prioritized to be talked about. The predictability, the security, and the structure, structure, yes. So thank you. This is my comment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ganpeng, for your very valuable remarks. You have really highlighted some of the critical issues which we also discussed in this room. Our guests, many of our guests have highlighted this. We have very little time left now, but still I would give, there were many hands from here, so I wanted to give with someone from here. No, I mean, he has left, I think. But anyway, so please, 1 minute, just 1 minute. I will have to stop, otherwise then I'll come to you.
থ্যাংক ইউ ফর দ্য ফ্লোর। আমি সরাসরি কোশ্চেনে চলে যাই, যেহেতু সময় কম। আমরা যা পত্রপত্রিকা থেকে অন্যান্য জায়গা থেকে শুনতে পেরেছি যে যে সরকার এখন মানে বিডিং এ যাবে, তো 50 মেগাওয়াট করে মনে হয় এরকম 10টার কথা শুনতে পাচ্ছি। সো আমরা যতটুকু জানি যে চাইনিজ ইনভেস্টমেন্টে মানে ইউজুয়ালি যারা বড় ইনভেস্টর চাইনিজ, তারা কিন্তু 100 মেগাওয়াটের নিচে হলে কোনো প্রজেক্টে পার্টিসিপেট করতে চায় না, কারণ তাদের অন্য ফাইন্যান্সিয়াল অ্যানালাইসিস থাকে এবং অন্য থাকে। তো সেক্ষেত্রে কি আপনারা সেটা আমলে নিয়েছেন কিনা, যে 50 মেগাওয়াট হলে কি অ্যাকচুয়ালি চাইনিজ ইনভেস্টমেন্ট কি মানে এনকারেজ হবে কিনা এই সমস্ত প্রজেক্টে আবার পার্টিসিপেট করার জন্য? দিস নাম্বার 1। নাম্বার 2 কোশ্চেন ইজ, আপনি বলছেন যে ঠিক আছে, যে আবার এটা এলওআইটা যদি ধরেন এনওএ দিলে এলওআইটা ক্যান্সেল, তাহলে ক্যান্সেল, ঠিক আছে। সো এই যে বিষয়টা, তারপর আবার কি গ্যারান্টি আছে যে 1-1.5 বছর পর যখন নতুন একটা গভর্নমেন্ট আসবে, তারা আবার বলবে যে না, আবার এনওয়াকে চেঞ্জ করে আবার এলওআই দিব, তাহলে কিন্তু এটা আবার ধরেন এটা ক্যান্সেল। সো এই যে একটা ইনভেস্টমেন্টের যে একটা আনসার্টেনটি, হ্যাঁ, একটা কনফিডেন্স কিভাবে চাইনিজ ইনভেস্টররা পাবে? তো যদি আমার লাস্ট কোশ্চেন, তখন কিন্তু আপনাদের এরকম একটা মানে যদি ইফ দে অ্যাকচুয়ালি লস দেয়ার কনফিডেন্স অন দিস সেক্টর, স্পেশালি রিনিউয়েবলে, তাহলে কিন্তু তখন আমাদের নতুন করে করতে হবে হাউ টু রিঅ্যাট্রাক্ট দিস ইনভেস্টমেন্ট। এখন তো আমরা অ্যাট্রাক্ট বলছি চাইনিজ ইনভেস্টমেন্টে, তো রিঅ্যাট্রাক্টের জন্য আমাদের এখন নতুন করে সেশন করতে হবে। কাইন্ডলি এটা একটু মাথায় রাখবেন।
কনফিডেন্স, ইনভেস্টরদের কনফিডেন্স ধরে রাখা। আপনি
Hello, this is Imran from French company Total Energies.
যেগুলো বলা হয়ে গেছে একটু না
I'm
বললে
going to
হবে।
be very short. আমি একটু বাংলায় বলি। যে টপিকটা আই থিঙ্ক আমরা অনেকেই উল্লেখ করছি না, যে আসলে গভর্নমেন্ট সাইড থেকে যখন একটা নিউ পলিসি ইন্ট্রোডিউস করা হচ্ছে বা চেঞ্জ করা হচ্ছে এরকম, সো এখানে আসলে প্রাইভেট সেক্টরদের কেন ইনভলভ করা হচ্ছে না? সো আমরা এই যে আরই পলিসির কথা স্যার বললো 2024, বাট আমার একটা কোশ্চেন যে আসলে এখানে কি প্রাইভেট সেক্টরদের সাথে কোনো মিটিং কি করার কোনো সম্ভাবনা আছে? বা এই যে টেন্ডার ডকুমেন্টের কথা স্যার বলছিল, সো মানে ওয়াই নট বিফোর পাবলিশিং পাওয়ার ডিভিশন ক্যান হ্যাভ এ মিটিং উইথ দ্য বিডার? সো এটা হচ্ছে আমার কোশ্চেন।
থ্যাংক ইউ। আচ্ছা, ওকে, 1 minute, ওকে, লাস্ট পয়েন্ট বলেন।
Hello. In fact, I have some expectations from this forum and the government people. The number one, yeah, I hope it will be covered. Rather, you are stopping me. So, BIDA is a very trusted place for all investors. We would expect BIDA will be act as a safeguard of all investors in Bangladesh, as well as BPDP. Second one, I don't want to go for any debate. LOI postpone and cancel having a difference has been clarified. So we'll always appreciate the government gazette, not the media reports as well. And we would expect BPDP will sit to all developers. LOI is a contractual obligation because a competitive process, LOI has been issued. And we are continuing all the terms and conditions till date. And our LOI is active. Keeping active LOI, if we float the bidding process, it's a conflict each other. So I think the government will review it. Till date, we didn't get any official letter from the BPDP, just is a media report and articles and columns and seminars, nothing else. So we would expect, already you have clarified well. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I think with this, I would like to end the open floor discussion.
30 seconds, please.
Any other point?
So, did you assess the consequences of the cancellation or postponed? Like 34 LOI issued, at least 3 employees there or 4 employees is there. So 120 employment is there. And also we have invested a lot of money. For our case, we have invested $1.5 million. So what will be the consequences?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I think with this, thank you very much, those who have participated in the open floor discussion. And I'm sorry if someone wanted to speak, but we could not give opportunity. But our guests are here, and you, I think after today, because he wanted to access, someone was mentioning regarding the accessibility to the policymakers, but there, I hope there, and I request also there doors should be open for those who are working in the sector. Thank you very much. Come back to the, to my guests now. I would like to request Mr. Chaudhary Liaquat Ali, who is the Director, of Sustainable Finance Department, Bangladesh Bank. He's our guest of honor. So you have heard many recommendations regarding financing, currency swap, and other, climate finance are there, and also bonds issues. So, what is the, policy measures you are taking and thinking, any innovative approach? And also within the existing ones, there are some complaints that access to finance is becoming very challenging as well. So over to you, Mr. Ali.
Thank you, Madam. Honorable Chairman, NBR, and the Executive Director of the CPD, and distinguished discussant and the guest. Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. Actually, it is my privilege. At first, I would like to give thanks to the presenter for their insightful and the detailed presentation. But in some arena, especially the refinance scheme of the Bangladesh Bank, they missed some updated data. So I request them to update the data, especially the interest rate. Actually, they said about the three refinance scheme in the Bangladesh Bank for the for promotion of the sustainable, green, and the climate finance related. And the three fund is actually very much focusing with the renewable energy and the energy efficiency. So all of the fund bearing the interest, that means the Bangladesh Bank charged to the banks and the finance company as a PFI only 1%, and they charge to the borrower, that means the on borrower level on 5%. This is the latest circular we already give them out. And as you for promoting the sustainable, green, and the climate finance, actually Bangladesh Bank was established the Sustainable Finance Department with a clear mandate to promote the green, sustainable, and ensuring the environmental and social risk management. Since the inception of the Sustainable Finance Department of Bangladesh Bank, a lot of policy initiatives has been taken by the Bangladesh Bank. That means the sustainable finance policy, environmental and social risk management guidelines, and the taxonomy, and the list of green and sustainable products, the list of the eligible sector for the financing. And lastly, we issued a circular for the banks and finance company to issue the green bond, where we include the 8 sectors, include the 8 sectors. Out of the 8 sectors, renewable energy and the alternative energy and the energy efficiency include there. Now, I would like to give some data why actually the sustainable finance or the green finance is required. Not only that, we also give the lending quota to the banks and finance company. Now, the lending quota is 5% of the total disbursements in a year should be made under their disbursement. 5% of this should be green finance and 20% of the sustainable finance. As of the 30th June 24, actually industry has achieved the disbursement of the green finance. Now it is around 9%, and the sustainable finance is around 37%. So, and I would like to share some data for the industry data. As of the 30th June 2024, That means that financing by the banks and finance company under the renewable energy now 4,600 crore taka. And the energy and resource efficiency that is around 18,000 crore taka. And what is the performance our refinance scheme? One of the refinance scheme that is called the refinance scheme for the green establishment or the green products. We are disbursing from this fund and as of the 30th June 205 crore taka from this fund, and under the renewable energies, especially the focusing on the rooftop solar energy. And the energy and resource efficiency, we disbursed from this fund around 158 crore taka. Under the green transformation fund, basically this fund, where the presenter said that earlier we established the fund in the foreign currency under the two component, one in the US dollar and another one is the euro currency. But as you all know, you know that as a crisis in the and pressure on the reserve, because those funds makes from the reserves, we now postpone the disbursement from the foreign currency fund. But besides, we established a local currency fund that is content 5,000 crore taka under this in the year 2022 September. Under this fund, already we disbursed around 10 billion taka, that is 1,000 crore taka. And number 3 is the technological development fund. This is only for the exporters who if they wish to upgrade or they replace their machineries for mitigating the climate change impact or for mitigating the carbon emissions. We disburse from this fund around 588 crore taka till now. So this is our initiatives, but I am highlighted again for the green bond policy, which is issued for the green bank and finance company. And the policy details how the bank and finance company issued and how the finance company invest in those funds. So there is an opportunity to the banks and finance company to issue the bond, to issue the green bond and attracting the foreign investors, not only the China, all of the globes. And this is also our agenda for the government for the achievement of the sustainable development goal, which will be achieved by the government. So and not only that, now we are working on the green credit guarantee schemes for the climate financing or the green financing with the support of the World Bank and the AFD. And another one is now we are working on the green branch policy, because this is very much needed for implementing or financing the green initiatives. So this is my overall update and what the central bank has been taken the initiatives, not only the energy, solar, renewable energy, for the overall the greening the financial systems. So to support the government's ambitious target of the generating 40% is the electricity from the renewable and sources by 2041, Bangladesh Bank is actively engaging with the relevant authorities, bank and financial initiatives, with the national energy policy and roadmap for the power sector reform and the power and the energy sectors, and the strategy paper, which will eventually expedite the decarbonization efforts of the Bangladesh effectively. In conclusions, achieving the decarbonizations and the sustainability goals is not just the environmental imperative, rather it's a financial necessity. The transition to low carbon economy is inevitable, and those who invest in these transactions today will be the leader of the tomorrow. At Bangladesh Bank, we are always committed to facilitating these transformations, especially whether you are the financial or the business leaders or the policymakers or the foreign investments. To join us with the journey, towards a more sustainable and resilience future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liaquat Ali, for spelling out to us the initiatives of the Bangladesh Bank towards renewable energy and also sustainable finance. Now, I would like to request our special guest, Mr. Mohammad Abdul Rauf Khan, FCMA, who is the Chairman, National Board of Revenue. So you have heard throughout the discussions, one of the important components have been requested is this various tax and incentives and duty waivers and all these. These are very important fiscal measures which are required for any investment. But also I appreciate that you are at a chair which is in the very difficult task of generating resources on the one hand, but also spend on the other hand in a way which will keep you at a balance, because at this point in time we have a very low tax GDP ratio, and as a result we sometimes see that there are tax burdens not only on consumers but also investors. So this is a really difficult task. We understand and we appreciate that. But on the other hand, we also have to have a trade-off. So in the new circumstances, when there is a need for further investment in new areas like renewable energy, what fiscal options you have in your mind, and what are your thoughts, particularly in response to the audiences and the speakers' recommendations?
Thank you very much. I think the paper presenter almost touched everything on the table, and also the audience spoke very freely, and also we have heard the policymakers from government, our energy division colleague, our Board of Investment Division Authority colleague, and also from Bangladesh Bank. From my side, basically NBR side, I thank our presenter that she recognized my challenge of striking balance. Normally, CPD is very vocal about our shortcoming that we have lowest tax GDP ratio in this country. And unless we increase our tax collection, it will be extremely difficult to implement our SDG goal by 2030. So definitely it is a very difficult task. My first plan is basically to bring back the discipline in our tax administration and to eliminate all the controversial rules and regulations in our tax laws, regulations. And my first 2 months working in that respect suggest me that if I go for massive reform in making the laws, which is basically, reflect the best practice, that will further reduce my tax collection to the great extent. So again, to balance that, basically, what I have to do first, that I must reduce tax expenditure. This is the recommendation all the time we get from CPD and all other economists and civil society. So definitely it is a very risky task. Does it mean that I will go for scrapping all the existing tax benefits? Definitely no. We have to set our priorities. Everybody sitting on this room, everybody believe that renewable energy is a must now. And this is the safest and also cheaper. We have also heard about the hurdles. We have 170 million people with a very small land, and land acquisition and giving land is a very difficult kind of thing. So today I was just discussing with my colleague that we should have Ministry of Land representative here, and also Ministry of Agriculture. Because whenever you go for land acquisition, the Ministry of Agriculture, they are really concerned about reduction of cultivable land, which is very, very, very important for us. First, we have to feed our 170 million people, and our farmers are doing fantastic job last 50 years. So if we reduce the land like this, then what should we do? That's why our colleague says that it's not only solar power. We can go for other alternative also, wind power and offshore power as well. Yeah. And so as a student of business, my understanding is that no business around the world, no investors afraid of tax. Because tax authority never takes everything. They take a small portion of the income. What is important for the business people is policy consistency. That is important. If they, do their feasibility with some data, and if it keeps changing, that basically giving them trouble. Last 2 months, when I talked with my colleagues in NBR regarding who are dealing with the tax policy, VAT policy, and customs policy, this is what I'm trying to instill in their mind every time. Don't change any policy unless you are compelled, because you must give confidence to the investors that the government will not change the rule of the game. So if you change, if you keep changing the goalpost, then it is not a play at all. So I can give you commitment that we will try our level best to maintain this consistency. Again, uncertainty, all uncertainty is not in our hand. Some uncertainty is basically act of God, and because of the, other social and political issue that may go out of our hand. But knowingly, as a chairman of NBR, I would say that we will consistently follow the tax incentive that we are providing. Even in future also, we will be providing you whatever regime we are continuing now. We got a request from energy advisor, sir, and I spoke with him 2 to 3 times. He's really worried about the continuation of these tax exemptions. Definitely, we'll make sure from our end that it will not be stopped, all the way. So our hope is basically our next generation. We have heard about our delay, the investors have to run in many places, and we have delay in our customs, we have delay in BIDA, we have delay in electricity everywhere. This is not a standalone problem. It is a big problem for, it's a holistic problem of our nation. And good thing is that our hope is our next generation, and they are very serious about the change. They know what to do, and they are pressurizing us like anything. So you all have to come forward. Wherever you are facing problem, please report to us. The government has a very good system of we call GRS, grievance redressal system. Anyone can make complaint sitting in his vehicle using his smartphone, and then he can track what has happened to my complaint. But often people are not willing to make any complaint because they are afraid of continuation of their service and all the kind of thing. Unless we can use our 34 million hand, and if we fail to use our 34 million eyes to protect public interest, it will be extremely difficult for the nation to move forward. So this is what basically we need, zero tolerance from everybody. So if you tolerate, you have to take the pain. So unless you say, I'm not going to tolerate anymore, and I'm going to report everything, every injustice happened to me, I'll report to someone, in the bureaucracy, I think in my case, in my NBR, I'm advocating all the business people, all the you know tax practitioners that please use this opportunity and let me know. But I'm not getting enough and encouraging feedback from our people. But whatever comes to me, I am taking very serious action on that. So this is the message I can give you. Regarding the investment, definitely, it's not only Chinese investment. We thank our Chinese investors. We heard their concern. It's really a very serious issue. And from our policy side, our Honorable Joint Secretary clearly explained the background and context of it. So these are the rays of hope that it's not the government. Definitely, the country does exist. The people does exist. And everybody wants to do better. Then if something is good for the nation, I believe the rational people who are in charge of discharging their duties, across the government, definitely they will take rational decision. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairman, National Board of Revenue, Mr. Abdur Rahman Khan, FCMA, for your encouraging work, particularly encouraging words. You have mentioned about taking strong measures. We are encouraged to hear that because, tax is something uh, about which people are very apprehensive of. Every year before the budget season, particularly, people are scared that what measures are coming on, what the pressure would be, and at a time when the inflationary pressure is very high. And you have rightly, pointed out and assured us regarding the, the policy continuity, consistency. And the other issue is that, tax paying itself. I mean, I'm now talking about not as an investor, but as a general citizen, because I'm taking advantage of your presence, is that, the tax office should not be, or giving the tax should not be a pain, rather it should be a pleasure. Because, one should feel good about paying, taxes, because you are a responsible citizen. It should be, they should be recognized, they should be given the services, and they should not be harassed in any manner, which is, also one of the reasons that, we are talking about expanding the tax net, but quite often we see that, the tax officials are only running after the low-hanging fruit. So that system has to change. It is a systemic issue. It is a structural issue. We can have discussions. We are discussing, as I mentioned, CPD is always loud and clear about the measures which are needed for having a robust tax system, which will generate resource and also which will allocate resources for the sectors which are needed. Thank you very much for your presence and your valuable time here. And I would like to thank all my speakers, all the guests here who spoke and who listened, and also the friends from media and those who have joined online. In fact, we had 26 participants on Zoom, and this program has been live streamed on our Facebook, and 274 people have joined on Facebook Live. I would like to thank on behalf of CPD once again from the bottom of my heart for sparing your time and taking active part in this whole discussion. We look forward to seeing you again in the future. So we have a small humble lunch for you. Please join us for lunch. Thank you.